For the Southern California Prep Insider, I'm Keith Mulder here for another edition of the LA City Section Lacrosse podcast presented to you by the United States Marine Corps. We're here once again. It's a common theme, folks. Palisades High School, yet another girls lacrosse game in the books. 12-10, Pali over Beverly Hills. It got a little bit close at the end. Ultimately, though, Palisades with the win. They stay number one in the section. And we'll get into some scores from the girls' side. Tonight was one of two games from the girls. We also saw some action from some other city teams, so we'll get to that in a moment. But right now we have the top 10 for the boys and for the girls. Some notes, though, by the way. We apologize for having Wilson in the top 10 for the boys. That was indeed Long Beach Wilson, not Los Angeles Wilson. Got a little mix up there on Max Prep, so we apologize for that. Long Beach Wilson, take nothing away from them. Great team, but not in the city section. As well, there's been some reports that Hollywood High School, their girls team, is no longer playing along with Westchester High, so they forfeited most of their games, the rest of their season, potentially in jeopardy. We'll get confirmation as soon as we can, but right now, Westchester and Hollywood not fielding any teams, so really it's a top 6 for the girls right now. Lacrosse, it's a tough sport, folks. Not a lot of players playing in the city section, so certainly looking out for them next season, though, if they can get up enough players to play. That said, though, let's talk about the top 9 for the city section for the boys. We know you guys have been waiting all week for it. So for the boys, the top 9, Palisades number 1, Hamilton, then Birmingham, and then Voss Valley Academy of Arts and Sciences, El Camino Real at 5, North Valley Military Institute at 6, Westchester at 7, Hollywood at 8, and Jordan to round it up at 9. So talking about Palisades, they have wins over ECR and Birmingham by a combined score, 51-7 in their past games. Clearly they showed they're the number 1 team in the section for a reason. The teams behind them, though, it's a little bit murky there, folks. Hamilton, already with wins over ECR and Birmingham this year. Scoring talents of Solomon Kalayasko and scoring abilities of Jacob Marcus, Noah Pineda. They're one talented team. Huge games for them this week. Palisades takes on Hamilton right here at Pali tomorrow. A loss to Hamilton, that would be huge for Pali. But if Hamilton loses to Pali here, not necessarily the biggest of deals for them in the top 9. Birmingham right behind Hamilton because they've challenged Hamilton this year. They played them close, but they also have big non-conference wins. They also have wins over Voss, NVMI, and ECR. They will play ECR again this week. If they win, they could solidly lock up that number 3 spot in the section. Birmingham, the Pats, got a lot of scoring potential, folks. As for Voss, they're the number 4 team right now. They haven't played many games, which could be a blessing and a curse at the same time. The resume includes a big win over ECR, but also a loss to Birmingham. Their win over ECR is huge for their ranking. Tentative right now, as we said, they haven't played many games. So looking forward, certainly, to the rest of their schedule this year. ECR right now at the 5 spot. The record, not exactly what they would like, but they played some top teams, so that's why they get that number 5 spot. They've gone a bit unlucky. They can certainly score, though. Garrett Kim, as we mentioned, a gamer, one of the best scorers in the section by far. Also, a lot of face-off wins. He's probably their MVP this year, but also you can't forget about this kid, Jeremiah Adams Cuevas, their number 2 guy, currently second on the team in terms of scoring. So Kim, when he's not hot, Adams Cuevas, he can get hot in a hurry as well. Watch out for ECR in the playoffs. They're one of these sneaky teams. They could come off and pull up an upset. As for the rest of the top 9, North Valley Military Institute comes in. And no disrespect here, but they're kind of the cellar-dweller leaders necessarily in the section. Right now, they lost to El Camino Real in Birmingham, but they've beat these lower teams, the Westchester, the Hollywood, the Jordan. The Hawks have big games coming up, though, against Westchester and Voss. Voss, one of the better teams in the section. So I think that if Voss wins over North Valley Military Institute, they solidify themselves as a top 5 team. But if NVMI comes out with a win against Voss, who knows what could happen. Hollywood, a big win over Westchester, is really the difference right now between them and Westchester. Hollywood, a little bit on man. Same thing with Westchester. They've had some roster issues. Westchester, they kept things closer with NVMI than Hollywood, but ultimately that head-to-head matchup is what puts Hollywood ahead of Westchester. And then Jordan, unfortunately, their new program, they've fallen on tough times. So keep your head up, Bulldogs. I'm sure that come playoff time, you'll have some wins strung together. We'll see come playoff time if Jordan could even be a force, but that is the top 9. Now let's get into some scores. So scoring update from last week. On Tuesday, Voss went 22-0 over Hollywood, a big win for the Vipers. Then Westchester 5-4 over Jordan. Hamilton 19-13 over ECR. Palisades 22-2 over Birmingham. We have highlights from that game. Huge win for Palisades, cementing themselves as the #1 team in the section. On Thursday, NVMI 10-3 over Hollywood. Birmingham 10-5 over Beverly Hills. Palisades 29-5 over ECR last week. And then they lost 24-12 against Westlake. It was 9-9 at the half, folks. Palisades came back, but ultimately Westlake, one of the top teams actually in the state, pulled off the win right here at Pally. And then games yet to be announced from Redondo Union Hamilton and Jordan Westchester. So we'll get those scores to you as soon as we can. So for the game ball this week, I'm going to have to give it to a guy from Palisades, but not exactly the guy you may think. Machio Rizzone, he'll get all the headlines. He scores goals. He's the best scorer in the section by far, but his teammate, who happens to be a freshman, Ethan Rubin, gets the game ball this week. Right now, he is tied with Rizzone with 15 assists on the year, tops in the section, actually. So Ethan Rubin, usually involved in all of those goals for Palisades. Their offense, one of the best in the section, and quite frankly, one of the best in SoCal. So Machio Rizzone, going to have to take a back seat this week. It's going to be Ethan Rubin with the game ball for me. Now on to some picks. The schedule, it's going to be insane this week. ECR taking on Birmingham on Tuesday, and then Hamilton taking on Pally tomorrow as well, and then Hollywood against Westchester on Thursday. So for the first game, ECR Birmingham, I'm going to have to go with Beham. Watched them earlier this year in the rain, actually, and Birmingham with a convincing win over ECR. At ECR right now, Birmingham, way too much talent. I'm going to have to go with the Pats on that one. Hamilton versus Pally right here. It's going to be Pally. Hamilton, they're the #2 team in the section. They've had impressive non-conference games, but I think that Pally right now, they just have too much firepower offensively. Going to go with them. And also, they already beat Hamilton 23-7. Then Hollywood against Westchester, another rematch. Going to have to go with Hollywood. I think they won the first time at Westchester's place. They go right back there to Westchester, and I think they're going to win. Going to take the Sheiks in that one. So with that, we're going to wrap up the boys' side. Now let's head over to the girls' side. For the Southern California Prep Insider, I'm Keith DeMolder here with head coach for Palisades, Betsy Economo. Great win tonight, 12-10 over Beverly Hills. What are your initial thoughts from that game?
Way too close for comfort at the end. I didn't realize the score was 12-8 with 3 minutes left. So I think I was so focused on getting the younger players in, and we had them. We did a really good job in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, Beverly didn't give up. So that kind of caught me off guard. That doesn't happen very often. So our players, they played well in the beginning, and it was really good to get the younger kids in that haven't really played much. So
getting off to a hot start, you were leading at the half. What was the key for you guys offensively to make sure to get out hot?
Key offensively, we like to push the ball. Our style is more of a run and gun, a really good midfield athletically. So they've been trained to go hard out of the gate. So we did that very well tonight.
So at one point it was 12-4, and then Beverly started to make a huge comeback. Obviously, you hate to see those goals late in the game. What was something you would take away from this game tonight to move on to Wednesday against Birmingham?
Better coaching on my part, awareness. Just, again, you don't want to, you have to understand the majority of my second string team has never played the sport before. So we like to put them in a little bit at a time, and I probably put them in a little bit too much. So I will have to make that adjustment. But it's also good to give them experience, because I want, that they're our future, and I'm really proud of how much more confident they've become through the last couple of games, giving them more playing time.
Is there anyone in particular that you've seen, especially on the starting roster, that has really impressed you as of late?
Again, my midfield, Isabel McKinley, Sammy Stahl, and Allie Stahl, are quite a trio to get to coach. They are explosive. They have great passing skills, draw controls. They really are the heart of our team.
You guys win another game tonight. It was the Southern Section team. Now you're going to play a City Section team in Birmingham. What type of confidence does this win give you tonight moving into Wednesday?
We've been on a pretty good game streak of winning, although going into any game with Birmingham is quite a challenge for our girls. It's a big rivalry, and Birmingham's a good team. So we've got a lot of work to do tomorrow at practice to prepare. Having spring break thrown in there a little bit has been always a challenge for me because the continuity of teaching gets interrupted. So we'll hopefully tomorrow go over lots of X's and O's that we've been preparing for and try to get the girls mentally ready to have a tough game against Birmingham.
Looking past the game with the Patriots, towards the end of the season, what is the key for you to keeping this team on track to potentially get a ring?
Paying attention, focus, and not giving up. Keep going. That's one thing that we've been really trying to hammer home into the girls, and their mantra of listen, pay attention, and execute, because we do a really good job of setting things up to our opponent, really strategizing how we can beat them if they listen and follow instructions. So I think we'll be in good hands.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Coach, for the interview. They just won 12-10. They're playing a very tough team in Birmingham on Wednesday. With that, we'll send it right back to the podcast. Now let's go to the girls' side. As we mentioned, Hollywood and Westchester, their seasons have ended, forfeited most of their games, so it's just a top 6 right now, with Westchester and Hollywood being the bottom 2. So let's start it off with the number 1. Number 1 for a reason, folks. Palisades High School, their lacrosse program is undeniably the best. Birmingham coming in at number 2, and it's very close. That's what I will say. Palisades, they've won more games head-to-head in the section against Birmingham, but Birmingham, they have a loaded offense. It's going to be very testy here Wednesday. I'll be at the game, so we'll have those highlights for you on YouTube, but it's anybody's game. We'll get to a pick a little bit later from that one. El Camino Real coming in at 3, then Hamilton, Valley Academy of Arts and Sciences at 5, and then NVMI, North Valley Military Institute at the 6th spot. So, as we mentioned, Hollywood not playing in any of their games, also Westchester. So we'll give you some more updates with that. Will there be lacrosse next year at those schools? Who knows? But Palisades right now, tops in the top 8. There wasn't much action this week, so to speak. The boys with a lot more games to come with, but Birmingham and Pally continuing their dominance. There were times, though, in that 17-6 win for Palisades over VAS where their defense could have been a little bit better. And we saw it tonight here against Beverly Hills. It was 12-4 at one point, and then Beverly Hills went back and scored 6 straight, including one right at the buzzer, actually. So right now, Pally, their defense looking a little bit shaky. Going to need to try and tighten up the screws for Birmingham coming Wednesday. ECR, they have a big win over Voss and Hamilton right now, which catapults them to the 3 spot in the section. They're a sneaky team. Do not count out ECR. Hamilton, they have great non-conference scores, but they moved down because recent losses to ECR, Birmingham, and Pally. Really, it's not really fair when you're playing some of the top teams in the section. But Hamilton, they have some great offensive scores. McKenna Carter, one of the best scorers in the section. Sophomore Samantha Lopez as well. She's been impressive. But they need more quality wins inside the city to really justify a top 3 selection. They did put up 12 on Pally earlier this year. Their offense, as I said, really talented, but their defense, not really exactly there. Voss, although they've gotten blown out a couple times this year, they still do have talent, and they showed that against Pally on Friday, so they get the 5 spot. Meanwhile, NVMI, they haven't played as many games, but when they have, they've been beaten. They're looking to make some moves. NVMI, they need some wins here or there, but right now they're the last team in the section that has not forfeited all of their games thus far. Last week, just going over some scores real quick, ECR went 10-0 over Voss. Birmingham 16-1 over NVMI, and then Crescenta Valley went 11-10, a 1-point win over Birmingham. That was pretty close. And then Palisades, as we mentioned, 17-6 over Voss. So right now, Voss, they've been beaten big. They're still trying to contest, but right now, Birmingham and Pally, they're competing for that top spot in the section. So let's get on to the picks, folks. Birmingham, they play Voss today at 3:30. It's Monday. Right now, it's a Monday podcast. We don't have the score for you just yet, so we'll get that to you on next week's edition. So, but looking at some picks this week, as we mentioned, we'll get to the Palisades Birmingham game on Wednesday in a moment, but now we have another one, NVMI versus ECR. So I'm going to have to take ECR in that one. I think that ECR, they've been tested. We saw them against Simi Valley, let up a couple goals, but they have some offensive talent. They get the ball in the zone. They're not one of these teams that rely simply on luck or penalty shots. They have some serious talent for sure. Now let's get on to the biggest matchup of the week. Palisades taking on Birmingham right here at Pally. Going to have to go with the Dolphins, folks. Birmingham, they have a great offense. Zella Bedoian, one of the best scorers in the section next to McKenna Carter. But right now, I think that Palisades, their home field advantage, we've heard in the past it's been quite testy, but I think right now with their offensive firepower as well as their wins, I think they're going to take the one on Wednesday. But it's going to be close, folks. It's going to be very, very close. As much as I talk up Palisades, Birmingham just as good. But I think that Birmingham right now, their defense not necessarily where it needs to be. And I think Palisades overall, right now it's just more of a complete team. Their mids are way more athletic, in my opinion, than Birmingham. But we'll see come Wednesday, and we'll have those highlights for you as well. Some more games going on this week for the girls. ECR taking on Hamilton. Kate versus Birmingham as well. And then Royal versus ECR. And then on Saturday, Voss will take on Hamilton at 11 a.m. So a lot of action in the city section this week. We'll get those scores to you as soon as we get them, and we'll have them on next week's podcast. Once again, thank you so much for watching. That's going to wrap it up here from Palisades High School. I'm Keith DeMolder for the Southern California Prep Insider. This podcast, of course, presented to you by the United States Marine Corps. Thank you so much for watching. Catch those highlights on YouTube, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy.